There's an article swirling around social media claiming that China has bought farmland next to military bases across the country and including in Texas. One of the bases included in that report is Fort Cavazos.
Our 6 News team looked into these claims to verify if this report is accurate. 6 News anchor Adriana Alexander is here now to break down what people have seen. Adriana?
Well, the map you're about to see is an image that comes from a New York Post web article published in June. The image claims that China owns farmland next to 19 military bases across the country. Included in that are 2 Texas military bases, Fort Cavazos and Camp Bulis near San Antonio. But is it true? Our sources are the United States Department of Agriculture and the United States Department of Transportation and the Texas Farm Bureau. According to the 2023 USDA map of Chinese land in Texas, China owns land in 15 Texas counties.
A former NSA intel analyst warning that Americans and our power grid is at risk, directly caused by solar panels from China being used on farms across the U.S. Here to explain, that former NSA official, Rocky Cole, founder of iVerify. Rocky, thanks for being here. Can you explain exactly what China did here?
Sure. Undisclosed communication devices were recently found in the power inverters of a number of solar panels sold in the United States and which were manufactured in China. And the concern is that the devices could be used to attack the United States power grid. Specifically, they could have attacked the panels themselves, or could have been a jumping off point to move into the wider grid they're connected to. It's not entirely clear. Either way, these findings raise the possibility that China could cut power to key areas of the United States to hurt the economy in the event of war.
When you buy a product, any product, specifically in this case from China, there's a list of 10 items in the product. But in this case, there was an 11th, and it was this communication device that they did not disclose, correct?
Correct. And it's very concerning and unfortunately not an isolated incident. China and the United States have been engaged in what you might call a cyber Cold War for over a decade. And the public evidence overwhelmingly suggests that China has orchestrated a long-running stealth campaign to implant U.S. critical infrastructure with similar backdoors that could be activated in the event of a war, specifically to disrupt American commerce and government operations. And frankly, the solar panels are the tip of the iceberg.
Okay, so to that point, what other products do you have concern about that China has sabotaged with items, other products within said products that we don't know about?
Well, a September 2024 report from the House Committee on China, jointly with the House Homeland Security Committee, alleged that Chinese-made port cranes used in the United States seaports contained unexplained cellular modems that could also have served as a backdoor for data collection and possible disruption.
Some Iowa lawmakers in Congress are concerned about China buying up U.S. farmland. About 80% of the Chinese-owned land in the U.S. has been acquired since 2010. That's according to a Wall Street Journal analyst of information obtained from the USDA. Chinese entities only own less than 1% of all the farmland in the country, while Chinese companies buying more farmland could just be business investments for them and as a way to profit off valuable soil. Representative Randy Feenstra says it could also be something more troubling.
Iowa land belongs to the American farmer, and I truly believe that. And then also, all the research that's being done in our universities and nonprofits and stuff, a lot of them are done through Chinese students coming across. We have to wonder what's happening when they go back. Are they stealing our intellectual technology, our intellectual data? This is, to me, a very significant concern.
Meanwhile, a bill related to foreign ownership of agricultural land in South Dakota passed the Senate committee, and the legislation would require owners, entities, and foreign entities to disclose if they own agricultural land in the state.
What happens if a drone is launched or some kind of other surveillance equipment so close to these military bases? At the end of last year, we saw reports of several mysterious drones popping up near military bases in very close proximity to the Chinese-owned farmland. And while the drones were never confirmed to be owned or operated by China, the sighting sounded the alarm for defense officials and lawmakers concerned for our national security, as you can imagine. Several states have laws on the books, Kelly, to keep the Chinese from continuing to buy land, but it can be difficult to police because what's so interesting, what's been a challenge for us reporting on it, is that they use shell companies, or they have Americans to hide who is behind the true investment. And oftentimes when you dig and you dig and you dig, and you go through all the paperwork, you realize that there's a Chinese connection. Kelly?
Yeah, you've been doing excellent reporting on this, unsurprisingly. Definitely a story to keep eyes on.
In Montana, fears about the security threat from China have been growing ever since that Chinese spy balloon soared across its famous big sky.
The Chinese spy balloon was right above us. That woke a lot of people up.
And it's not just worries about America's vulnerability from the air. Now, one of Montana's senators is pushing to keep the Chinese government from buying land nationwide.
China is not our friend right now, and the Chinese Communist Party wants to do bad things.
Senator John Tester is proposing a ban on entities with ties to China and 3 other foreign adversaries from buying American farmland and wants to beef up monitoring of land transactions to foreign buyers.
Right now, we're not paying any attention to it.
The push to prohibit foreign land purchases from China has exploded across America. 15 states have passed laws regulating the practice. Much of the focus coming after controversial purchases in Texas and North Dakota, where Chinese companies bought land and failed to disclose it to the U.S. government. In Grand Forks, North Dakota, city officials recently blocked construction on land purchased by a Chinese company just 12 miles from Grand Forks Air Force Base. The company has said it's just a corn mill and not an espionage risk. But the Air Force had warned that the project presented a, quote, significant threat to national security. Overall, U.S. intelligence rates the Chinese Communist Party, or CCP, as a top security threat.
The CCP represents both the leading and most consequential threat to U.S. national security and leadership globally.
And the various drone sightings attached to that land. With acreage in several states, including a wide swath of the South and some of these farms located near U.S. military bases, could America be vulnerable to a Ukraine-style drone strike carried out by China? NewsNation senior national correspondent Brian Entin reporting live now. So, Brian, how great is the threat potentially posed by these Chinese-owned farms now?
Well, Kelly, we've been talking about it for years now on NewsNation. The drone strike in Russia has definitely started a new conversation about the vulnerability of our military equipment, especially when you think about it, and you just showed the map, how much farmland China actually owns very near military bases in America. Look again, this map shows all the farmland, this is very specific here, that China owns across the country, 370,000 acres of land, some of it very close to secret military bases. You see it literally goes from coast to coast, from California to Florida to Georgia to South Carolina to North Carolina. And look in North Dakota there, Grand Forks Air Force Base. This is one that I've been looking at very closely for the last 2 years. I was there a few years ago. This is video that we took out there in the winter when a company named Fufeng bought the land and planned to build a corn mill there. Well, the Air Force called it a national security risk. The project was shut down. But what's shocking is just today I learned that Fufeng still owns the land in North Dakota. It's just miles from the base.
That remains to be seen. Meantime, your company, iVerify, uncovering evidence of possible spyware on iPhones within the U.S. What did you discover, Rocky?
We have. Throughout late last year and early this year, our platform detected anomalous activity on iPhones belonging to political campaigns, media organizations, governments, and AI companies operating in the United States. And this anomalous behavior turned out to be the result of a previously unknown vulnerability in iMessage related to assigning nicknames and avatars to iPhone contacts. And in the course of investigating the vulnerability, we discovered evidence suggesting this vulnerability may have been used in targeted attacks as recently as February of this year. You know, we monitor a very large number of mobile devices, and the behaviors we saw on these devices were extremely rare, concentrated exclusively among the types of people who are routinely targeted with spyware. And Apple even sent a threat notification to one of the targeted individuals.
Who's behind it?
Well, it's very difficult to do attribution if you're a private company like we are, but I can say that all the targets had some sort of direct connection to China. Either they had been previously surveilled by China, they were engaged in some sort of activism against China, or engaged in business pursuits counter to or of great interest to China.
The head of Apple Security Engineering and Architecture denying these claims, saying the following: "We've thoroughly analyzed the information provided by iVerify and strongly disagree with the claims of a targeted attack against our users." Rocky Cole, quick response?
We have a very large body of circumstantial evidence that we find very convincing. No smoking gun, but it was definitely worth putting out for the research community to chew on.
Rocky Cole, really interesting and frightening stuff.